So you were saying about the weed, what were you saying?
Well, I was saying that I think to deal with anxiety and life struggles and all of that, weed was definitely something I turned to, and alcohol. But like on a daily basis, like significantly. So it wasn't like, oh, Saturday night. No, it was like every day. And part of it was, relationships I had and people in my life that were, that's how they were operating. So I did too. But it was kind of it was a way to escape, right? And I couldn't find ways to escape, my struggles or my anxiety. So yeah, weed and alcohol for sure. But I think the thing about the weed part for me is, and it does this to different people in different ways, but it was starting to let my mind spin down very dark paths. So one of the things that like Gary will say in his, like, your mind gets on a train and then gets off at a stop and goes on another train and then goes on another one and another one. Well, with weed, it does that, but 10 times faster. And if you're in the right mindset, darker, right? So for me, my mind would conjure a thought. Of course, I was in a negative headspace. It would conjure a negative thought, and the weed would help you jump on 20 trains to,
Oh,
I'm going to be living on the street,
uh,
pushing a shopping cart.
so it's kind of exacerbated what
It
was going on.
exacerbates it, and then the next day and then your mind again, it's patterning your mind. So if you're doing weed a lot, it was patterning, that those thoughts were patterns. And before this work, I couldn't discern that those thoughts were, again, these thoughts that the mind is conjuring, that you put a belief into it and then you let that train run. So now I'll do weed every once in a while now. I don't do it like I did. I don't do it every day, probably not every week.
That's big.
A month. But the difference is that with all this work, I know that the things that come up in the mind, I don't need to let that jump on the train and let it run. But this work has allowed me to kind of continually reduce any usage of weed and alcohol, because I find that I don't, I know that stuff really isn't going to get you there. I mean, it can be fun if you're out with friends or whatever and you want to do something, but it's not really the thing that is going to bring you any kind of help or happiness in any way. It's not going to. There is not enough weed. There is not enough alcohol that you can put into your body to get you to where you want to be. And that's what I learned.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's no way you can be happy that way. No, with the external pills, weed, alcohol, it can't bring you.
Pills. I
where
mean, I
you
was on anti-anxiety and depression pills for years. I stopped all of that.
Wow, that's big. That's so big.
No, it's not. Those are all that stuff is the Band-Aids.
No. No. Okay. Thank you. Can I ask you one more thing? Last question.
Yeah.
What do you think you did well in your own process to help you make the progress that you've made?
I mean, I think first you do have to look at the things that maybe aren't working for you. And so, you know what, maybe let me try something different. Like maybe that thing that I'm doing over and over and over. So I think that for sure. I think this kind of self-love and compassion part was key for me. And I think the meditation work. I'm by no means I did a lot of journaling. I did a lot of meditation. And I'm, I think with journaling and meditation, it's so easy to beat yourself up. Oh, I didn't do that today, or I didn't do it this week, or whatever. But it's not so much that. It's just that at the times you need to do it, you use it as a tool. So it's not really, you don't want to use it to beat yourself up. And I haven't, like, interesting, I hadn't journaled for probably the last 6 months, but I was getting into a family confrontation in the last week. And rather than spewing everything back that I wanted to spew back at this person, I just wrote it as if I was writing a letter to that person. And I wrote it, I wrote it 3, 4 times, 5 times. And what it did is it brought me to a whole nother place where now I'm like, okay, I can operate at such a better and different place with this person that I am fully empowered. So it's stuff like that. Again, it's these tools that, you know, you may find, oh, I got to journal today, or I got to do this, but use it, get into a little bit of a practice or a habit with them. But if you don't use it every day, you don't beat yourself up. So stuff like that.
So not beating yourself up about not doing it, getting into the habit of practicing, but not beating yourself up if you're not doing them. And so the journaling and meditations help you a lot. And you said, and loving yourself, learning to have compassion, self-love.
Yeah, and stepping through that. I think the things for sure that yeah, I gotta say you pushed me. the points where you actually pushed me to go do that thing that I knew I had to do but didn't want to do. And then I actually got through that thing. And once you get through that thing, and then the next thing and the next thing, you're like, okay, all right, okay, I can do this. I can do it. I'm good. I'm good. So it's a lot of that, I think, that really helped me do it. Yeah, you gotta walk, like you said, you gotta walk through that thing.
Walk through the fire.
You
walk through the fire and you come on the other side.
Gosh, once you do, it starts to really empower you.
The only thing that burned was your fear. That's the only thing that actually burns in the fire.
Yeah, and you're doing it and you feel like I'm gonna crumble. I'm gonna just crumble into a ball when I do this thing. I can't do it. You find your way through, and once you come out on the other side of a few of those things, I mean, that's a good place.
The fear is what really crumbles.
Yeah. I mean, I can now look back and be like,
what are some of the things I pushed you on that you remember?
I think probably having some hard conversations. I've certainly, starting to look for a job, going for the interviews, going through things that cause me like social anxiety. Like I have dealt with social anxiety. And I can't even tell if I'm an extrovert or an introvert because I've had so much social anxiety in my life, and still do, but I get through it a lot better than I ever did. And again, pushing me through some of those things where like, I don't want to do that in a social setting. That's helped a lot. It's helped a lot.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Rob. Okay. Great addition. Thank you.